You got the recorder. All right. Call the meeting to order. It's a little bit past 6:30. Be exact, it's 6:32. And I'll do a little bit out of order tonight. Before we get started here, we have a new member that's been appointed to the board, and I'm gonna let her tell everybody who she is and what her background is. And
I'm Elizabeth Kirkpatrick. So I am currently the CFO at a civil construction company in Burlington. I'm a certified accountant in Virginia and North Carolina. Before I went into private industry, I was doing federal audits for the government in Washington, D.C., where I did different things for the DEA, the different departments of justice agencies, things of that nature. I have my husband and my baby who will be 1 in 2 weeks at home. I grew up in Burlington, went to Washington, D.C. postgraduate school for work, and then came back during COVID and never left, and don't plan on it. I'm really excited to be here and working with all of you.
welcome aboard. All right. Take a roll call here. Mr. Huffine,
Here.
Mr. Benesh,
Here.
Chair Dean Ward's here, Mr. Wooten,
Here.
Mr. Stock,
Here.
Mr. Kirkpatrick. All right, great. If everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Wooten, we're gonna start with your new thing here that gives the overview of the planning board. This is the City of Graham's Planning Board, and it's an advisory board to the Graham City Council. It considers and makes recommendation to the council regarding any request for changes to zoning, assignments, and such. City Council is the final arbiter of approval or disapproval. Meetings are conducted according to the written published agenda. Individuals who wish to speak concerning any of the requests to be considered will be given the opportunity during the public comment period for each item. Please signify by raising your hand, your desire to speak, and the meeting moderator, typically the board chair or vice chair, and the chair is absent, will recognize you. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and voice your comments. The time limit for comments is 3 minutes, but may be extended by the moderator to allow questions from the board. Please maintain a respectful and civil demeanor with all comments and responses to questions. The meeting moderator will signal when the individual's time has expired and will call for the next commentator. If an individual does not respect the time limit, speaks out from the audience without being recognized by the moderator, or disrespectful of the board, they will be subject to removal from the meeting. Once the public comment period has been closed by the moderator, further comment for the audience will be deemed out of order, and individuals not respecting this will be subject to removal. All right, did everybody have an opportunity to read December 16th meeting and the minutes there? And if so, is there any changes or any disapproval there? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Cameron, let's go to number 6A.
Yes, sir. We're back here again after last month's meeting, discussing the future land use plan. It was tabled by you all, for some additional review, and also to gather the previous red lines, that we had discussed. I know maybe not all of you have some of those, but our newcomers have the updated copy that has, the red lines associated with them. And if you do have, I guess your computer, you'll see them as well, but, I can pull those up on the screen, the most updated copy with the red lines. So we're here to continue discussing, until we can get to a point that we feel comfortable forwarding this on to city council, and a recommendation from you all, no matter what type of recommendation that may be. So, I'll kind of open the floor back up if we want to pick up back off where we started, or if anybody has a specific starting point, we can go ahead and, get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I would just like to go ahead and start if you guys don't matter, and we'll go back to page 32. I know we had some discussion last month about this, but I don't think ACTA is actually a ride share service. And I thought it was, but I don't actually think they do provide riding for a fee, but I don't think they are a ride share service. So I think we probably need to look at that, maybe delete that.
I thought it was free for a day in advance, but they do offer it for like $1 or $2 if you call it that same day. I thought that was the discussion that we had, and maybe that's why I
That-
provided it.
That is the discussion that we had, and I certainly thought it was classification would be a ride share program, but when you actually go on their site and look at it, it don't talk about ride share.
Sure.
So I think we might want to clean that up.
What would you suggest instead of ride share?
I
Like,
would think just take the ride share out. It's just a agency in Alamance County that provides services,
so no, maybe
transportation services.
not even ACTA, just
Well, no, ACTA
ACTA
Is a-
also offers transportation services.
services, right.
Got it.
Anybody disagree with that or want to change any of that at all? Okay.
Adjective, provides public and specialized transit service.
Yeah, that even sounds better. Uber.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I do think it's ambiguous because when you say the term rideshare, generally speaking, you're talking about an Uber or a Lyft service, and I think that's probably right.
It's a similar format from what I understood last time, but that's easily fixed.
Also, in the last paragraph on 32, the vision of 2006, I think that's a typo.
Yeah, 2006 was not supposed to be there.
Okay,
It probably was removed, but this editing, well, the red line is above it. So that's what it is. You can see like the red line is supposed to be reading out through 2006, but and the red line or the highlight is supposed to be in 2025, but I guess with the formatting, it did not work out too well. So if you move this red line down and this one down, it'll probably work out better, which I'm probably going to get off of this.
in the very last sentence, is the city actually currently updating the pedestrian plan? Right there, top
Yeah,
of the page.
no, I guess that's also something that should be removed and because the vision of the 2025, so I guess that wasn't noted during the last time, but it
Yeah.
can be taken out, so.
While we're on that page 32, under public transit, it also said that Link Transit is developing a 5-year plan that should be finalized in late 2024.
Mhm.
If this is a 2025 plan, I feel like we should be clear on whether or not that was finalized.
You need to put an asterisk on that because we definitely need to find out that. Because if it was finalized, we would like to include it.
Yes, ma'am.
A micro-trend which allows riders to schedule an at-once pickup like Uber or Lyft for a nominal fee, or alternatively, 24 hours notice.
Okay.
This door-to-door service is free.
Okay, I remember micro transit now.
Yep.
Maybe ride share was just stuck in the back of my head. Yes, ma'am. I guess we'll still stick with specialized transportation services if that's up to y'all.
Next one will be on page 40. Maybe just considering that we want to add some language like the overlay district was established to preserve the visual character of the corridors leading from I-40 and 85 into Graham's historical business district. signage, landscaping, building materials, color, design, and overall site use should complement and not distract.
We're on page 40
40
of
of
the
the
South Main
overlay
Street overlay. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Page
Mhm.
40 labeled or 40 in the document?
Oh,
I think
the
they're,
document.
Okay.
I'm on page 40, the same as you, right there.
Okay.
and reference that again, I'm sorry.
That we might want to consider adding, the overlay districts were established to preserve the visual character of the corridors leading from I-40 and 85 into Graham's historical business district. Signage, landscaping, building materials, colors, design, and overall site use should complement and not detract from the established historical district design standards.
And that's something you have written out specifically for yourself.
I'll give you a copy of it.
That'd be, if y'all come to a consensus that that's what you would like to revert that area to, that's fine with me. So I know we looked at it last time. I think the only thing was the whole complimentary piece. But I guess that's up for,
Okay, 42, page 42, 3.7. Considered for the length. In 3.7, the conditional use zoning, we might want to add consideration for the length of driveways, distance to structure to curb. That's where we always having these problems with the townhouses and everybody parking over the sidewalks.
yes, sir. So let's see, some things to consider are parking, access to property, floodplains, lighting, fencing, pollution, neighboring land uses, existing development, noise, landscape, buffers, trees, water runoff, dedication of common areas, recreational amenities, open space, driveways, walkways, pedestrian traffic, roadway speed traffic, studies, right-of-way improvements. So essentially adding into that, I mean, structural property setbacks, clear cutting. You want to add a couple more into that?
Well, I certainly believe that it's covered, but it's not. It's too wide there. It said consider driveways. Well, what are we considering? Well, if we spell it out to them and say the distance of the structure to the curb, then they know exactly what we're trying to achieve there. Where driveways and sidewalks are on the same sides, special care should be taken to ensure that cars will not block the sidewalks. Pretty lengthy what I have here, but you wanna, I wish I could have made a copy. So everybody could go see it, read it and see it at the same time. Can you get us some copies? Would that be too much to ask?
No? Yeah.
It might make it easier because it's pretty lengthy. No, it's just that, that's my list. Everybody's gonna have a list, but
Would you like one too, Miss Jennifer? Mics are still hot, y'all. That's because I'm lead.
got you.
Mr. Patrick, there was a subdivision that was built in the distance from the street to the townhouses was not long enough. So all the sidewalks down the whole thing, everybody just parks across them. So it's like no point to the sidewalk.
I say the only reason they would do them is because they're required, that's that part, you know, like the sidewalk.
Yeah, I know, but that makes all the kids have to walk out in the street and it just,
Which subdivision are you referring?
it's, Raleigh Meadows. Yeah, it's really tough.
One down here on Ivy Road that coming up. Just about all the townhouse communities that's really in Graham recently that's been approved has that issue. Something more that we could address with changing the setbacks. And this rewriting that specific.
Council. Previous.
Sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Cameron.
All right.
I'll give everybody an opportunity to review number 42, 3.7 there. If you agree or disagree or want to change anything. Any questions or concerns?
Yeah, Dean, where would this be added into the indoor where it says driveways?
I think it should start there at driveways.
So there's a. So in the first 5 lines of your 42.
Yep.
There's a paraphrase that I'm gonna just say.
Okay.
Try to define what your 5 lines say in adequate street canyon aspect ratio. So when a land planner sees that phrase, it makes them think width of the effective canyon alley between the facades of the houses on either side of the street. So in a succinct way of saying, Mr. Designer, Mrs. Designer, pay attention to how far the houses are set back from the artery. You've said in a really short way, pay attention to this. The professional should assimilate all of these smaller specifics inside of that phrase. If you tell me, pay attention to the way you're designing the streetscape, I'm gonna look at the trees and the sidewalk and the curb and the spacing out to where the pedestrians are separate from the cars and the porches are separate from the sidewalk and how big the street yard, how deep the street yard is, and then how deep the front yard is. To further simplify the wording, you put it in the terminology of the urban canyon, the suburban canyon, or the rural canyon that's created by what you see along the road. That takes your 5 sentences and fixes the target on, make sure you got enough room in your driveway between the garage door and the sidewalk.
I'm good with it. If you want to make an adjustment or
May I say something just in response? I understand what you're saying. I think it's right. But I think the more specific that we can be, the simplified language tends to leave loopholes that can be exploited. So the specificity without wordiness would be good.
Use all 5 sentences then. I mean, you're saying the same thing. We're not writing an ordinance, we're writing guidance.
Right, yeah.
But what I want you to take the perspective of is you have a reasonably informed designer or developer that's reading this. It makes them think, hey, this technical review group, this planning board and this city council is paying attention to what these streetscapes are gonna look like. So maybe we add adequate street canyon aspect ratio in suburban, urban, and commercial areas, including depths to structures from the main arteries.
Anything that says to the developer and designer that says, yes, we speak your language. We understand your perspective. And this is our interpretation specifically for this community. That makes sense?
It does, and I think to expand on what you're saying to me, the language Dean used that says somewhere would not be blocked. That's the whole catalyst for this 5 lines. So we want to add avoid interference. 2 words in exchange for that sentence. And I think we got it. Or you just keep it as detailed as you want it to be. I agree with you. The more specifics you give us, the more it's going to be right the first time it comes in the door to Cameron.
Further comment? Anybody have a problem with the wording of Chad and Mr. Wu? Cameron, did you, Jennifer?
This is,
Engineer to engineer.
People that are infill and general contractors that are just maybe not want subdivisions, but
Because if a lot comes in, a single lot comes in, it doesn't go to Cameron necessarily. It goes to a permit and the garage is 17 feet off the edge of the sidewalk because there's a 10-foot setback or something.
I know a lot of times being in construction, there's stuff in construction, but I mention things, a light bulb goes off and several other board members that say, oh, yeah, we need to consider that every single time. And I don't know that they necessarily think about it like that. They certainly don't speak his language and construction language. So I see it both ways. I see what Chad's saying, that when you're speaking to the developer, he has a different, like going in court, you talk lawyer talk, and then you talk like for somebody going in small claims, you're just talking like a regular citizen. So I don't know, but I'm worried about board members that are brand new, not necessarily element, they don't come from that background, not understanding what they need to be making sure it's right before they pass it. That's my, I'm trying to keep the sentence first before a person be able to understand.
Clarity in the language that we use here, I think would be.
So I don't disagree with him, but I also think not everybody speaks has his knowledge or speaks his language.
and if I may interject, honestly, I kind of brought this up last time as well, as I think, you take a look at this, I guess, the area that we're looking at, right, the conditional use zoning, you kind of have a brief, I guess, hit at these major things, that are listed inside this conditional zoning area, but in the policies and goals, as we mentioned at the bottom, is more or less something that you can reference from this section down to the bottom. Like somebody comes in for a conditional use and it mentions things about setbacks and other things inside of that area. You can pull, it's like, okay, well, our conditional rezoning and our future land use says this. It says in policy 1.2.3 to have that terminology that you said, or increased setbacks or whatever it may be that we're trying to hone in on, in that section where I guess it's a lot more blatant and open of what we're actually trying to accomplish with this document, rather than trying to hide it. And I wouldn't say hide it, but it's a lot harder to see inside of this area, I guess. But that might just be my 2 cents. Like I said, you are more than welcome to.
Well, I guess to your point, it depends on what the purpose of this particular document is. Is it a high level or does it need to be more granular?
I think the high level part definitely comes in at the policies of what you're, hoping these people are trying to accomplish, what we're all trying to accomplish here inside the city. Is one of those policies to have, for transportation, to have a decreased amount of on-street parking. By providing more than the required parking spaces, or providing an additional area of front setback to allow for more cars to be parked in the driveway. I mean, those things I think are the things that are the higher level specific that are listed out in the policies, and the other things that are kind of towards the ends of the document that you're often referencing when you're talking about the consistency of the plan that people are bringing up to this said document. It doesn't meet policy 1.3.6 because they only have 2 parking spaces and one of them is the garage, and it's going to overflow the street. And oh, by the way, you also only have a 26-foot wide road, and that's not going to be able to hold the lack of parking that you're providing on here. So you're providing all this information, and you're not honing yourself into, or I guess limiting yourself to this small 3.7 section right here for every conditional rezoning that comes through. That's, like I said, just throwing something out there because I know it was brought up last time. And I mentioned, to take a good long look at some of these and think of some that you would also like to include in here, because that, to your point, is the higher level of what these documents and plans that come through in the future are based off of their consistency to, it says to the future land use plan, but a majority of time it's associated with what policies and recommendations that we can provide from said document at the end. So I don't mean to muddy the water by any means, because I know y'all are having good discussion, but.
All right, Dean, can we go to the third line? Cars will not block the sidewalks. So if you follow me, to ensure that cars will not block the sidewalks by providing adequate driveway lengths and yard depths, period. Then you can take out the next 2, 3 lines.
Good with that.
That take to Mr. Wooten's, like, make your driveway long enough, make your yard deep enough. And you can get rid of the flowery terminology and make it,
So
Break that out.
walk me through that, Chad, real quick, if you don't mind.
third line on Dean's edit sheet of page 42, sidewalks
Taken to ensure that cars will not block the sidewalks.
by providing adequate driveway lengths and yard depths.
Providing adequate drive or yardway lengths. Is that what you said?
Driveway lengths,
Driveway lengths.
yard depth.
Driveway.
Because if it's a conditional zoning and everybody's gonna drive a smart car, then the adequate word says, okay, here's adequate. Now what do you do for your visitors? Is it big enough to have 2 of them?
And so you're saying
not-
from there, period, sorry to cut you off. We're taking out essentially, will not block sidewalks, and we pick back up at
you can-
developers should be encouraged to commit established natural buffers.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. I mean, we can keep on if you think, encouraged to commit to keep established natural buffers. So we're essentially, are we, taking all the 3.7 out and replacing it with what is written inside of here?
I don't think you're trying to do that. I think you're adding to it.
Okay,
You're adding,
are we keeping everything inside of 3.7 currently?
I don't see any other, I
I
mean,
think you would have to edit because you mentioned clear cutting in yours and you've already got clear cutting in here, same as buffers. So I think if you are going to keep this exhaustive list, then we probably need to reword that section with what you have said.
The line that begins on structures.
Okay with, not duplicating there. So what are you wanting to take out there? Discourage clear cutting
Also setbacks.
and setbacks?
So essentially is an important zoning tool that allows the governing body to require additional conditions that will, in its opinion, assure that the proposed use and its proposed location will be harmonious with the area. Some things to consider are parking, access to property, floodplains, lighting, fencing, pollution, neighboring land uses, existing development noise, landscaping, no buffers that were, or no landscaping and buffers, trees, water runoff. Because we're talking about clear cutting. After that, water runoff, dedication of common areas is fine, recreational amenities, open space. I guess water runoff is also listed about erosion control systems. No driveways, walkways probably can be left inside of there. Pedestrian traffic, roadway speeds, traffic studies, right-of-way improvements, stormwater drainage. Setbacks, clear cutting, scale of building. Number of entrances, egress, emergency egresses, waterways. Energy service.
On the line that begins with emergency egresses, you got a reference to outdoor storage, which is duplicated in Dean's verbiage. 5 lines up from the bottom.
Thank you. I mean, waterways. No.
Emergency services concerns. That'd be covered under Dean's verbiage to allow for fire trucks, sanitation trucks, school buses.
How much the proposed use will generate in additional traffic? I think that's hit on.
I insert something there after additional traffic.
Sure.
Because we're having a problem with not only additional traffic, but additional light pollution, noise pollution, and straight up trash pollution.
Which one?
Did you hear, what Chad was talking about, the light pollution?
How much proposed use will generate in additional traffic? And you want to include, light pollution?
Light and noise pollution, but I don't know how you say garbage pollution without redundancy, because it's straight
Did
up
you say all
garbage.
types of pollution? Yeah, I think you just like literally just say, light, garbage, whatever other types of pollution, and then put pollution at the end, like,
Okay.
so light, what were the other ones? Light, sound, garbage,
And noise?
noise, light, noise, and garbage pollution? Is that okay?
Otherwise, I'm up there and I'm looking at, I have to run through my list, I forget. You know, good little cheat sheet to have in the land use plan, I think.
I think it's getting to a good balance of clarity, specificity, and economy of words.
And so do you just want to, I mean, essentially where this paragraph ends right here is where you want to pick up. Additional considerations are for length of driveways, distance of structure to curbs, where driving, we just adding it to the end, or we mixing and matching inside of here?
Or emphasis should be given for lengths of driveway distance to structure to curb.
So instead of considerations, it's emphasis
Should be given.
should be given for length of driveways.
Don't want it to be too open-ended that, nah, just because we considered it, but we don't want to do it.
Yeah, I understand. And like I said, I mean, there's always other areas to point back to as well. I think you can hit on it again of more like specific content down in the area as well to revert back to. You know, or it could just essentially, you know, one of the policies, whatever, could essentially say that conditional rezoning should match the section 3.7 of the future land use plan, something along those lines, and that's all written out inside of here.
I didn't see the, about the use of biofield erosion control systems.
Inside of yours?
Yeah, I mean, I see it in mine, but I don't see it on the, 3.7 conditional use zoning on 42.
Yeah, I took off, I mean, pretty much a lot of the aspects like water runoff. I mean, that's dealing with stormwater. Um,
But we want to emphasize though, we would rather have the biofields rather than a retention pond.
mhm.
It looks just aesthetically, it looks better.
Yeah.
May cost more, but it looks better.
And you said use of biofield erosion control system by developers should be encouraged. I
Right.
haven't typed anything else in here. I
Okay.
don't know if that's what you were looking for.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's
so
essentially what I was gonna do, is I was going to add after the fact, essentially all these red lines are taken off, and essentially add to the end whatever we've written over
Gotcha,
here.
gotcha.
I wish I had the ability to do it on the fly, but it'd probably look like crap, unfortunately.
Change erosion to stormwater.
Yeah. So change the word erosion to stormwater,
And
stormwater control systems.
use a biofield stormwater control system.
Because during the erosion control phase, there's nothing in the hole but a hole.
That's true.
What we're looking at is the long-term use of a bioretention facility that's grass covered, doesn't have standing water that kids drown in and mosquitoes. Final stage of development.
Hmm.
Caught up there.
I think I'm pretty much caught up.
Scroll on down to 46.
Chair. Dennis Gillis has one, and I think on the board will see it, and when the board members see what it looks like.
Mhm.
What an erosion plan. It's worth the money.
Yeah, for sure. I'll see if I can.
46, strategy number 5.
That's page 45.
Say that one more time. 40.
Page 45, I'm sorry. Page 45, strategy number 5.
Yes, sir.
Trying to gather my thoughts here when I struck that out. 4.2.
That was some master plan.
The pedestrian plan. Yeah, and that's why I have it redlined. I think it's because we wanted to exit out last time.
We're just gonna take it all the way off then.
Mhm.
We're just gonna delete it totally.
I'm leaving a little bit of increments, I guess, inside of there because I'll essentially provide your edit document to the
Gotcha.
city council as well with the original document.
Okay.
With the inclusion of probably some edits and wordage and things to them as well, so. But it'll be essentially
5 and
emphasized that
2.2.
red lines were not wanted,
Mhm.
and your edits for other red lines will be updated essentially, like the stormwater, all the stuff that we else just redlined will be taken out and updated to show whatever else that we discussed. So
What was that, Mr. Williams?
4.2.2, strategy 5.
Two, strategy 5, add more locations in
That's the
historical.
one you're
walk-
taking out.
No, it's, we're actually taking out 4.2.1.
Yep. that was one as
Out last time, the
Okay,
next
yeah.
one up.
all right.
All right, page 46. Strategy 5 again. I think we may should consider putting something in there like, the historical commission should be consulted when any change to the historical curbing or layout of the historical district is being considered.
Okay, so you essentially wanted to say avoid disrupting the historic granite curbing at all without a permit or,
I mean, this don't make them get a permit. And I guarantee you, if they called up here and asked someone about a permit, nobody would know anything about one.
you're probably right.
So I'm just
I
trying
imagine
to,
that.
to address it in a situation to where we can at least have conversations somehow with them, having a conversation with you, or, and then you direct them, or they see here, hey, we better talk to the Historical Resource Commission about taking that granite curbing out.
I think, and that would probably be, I don't know if people are really looking at our future land use plan for any downtown development. Maybe if it's coming in front of you all for, those types of developments, like a conditional rezoning or such, that might be something that we need to take a look at to add inside of our historical resource handbook itself to provide a permitting process for something along those lines, or if it is specifically listed out. I think you could probably add on without a permit from the Historical Resource Commission, refer to the Historical Resource Handbook, and I think you could probably leave it at that and be fine.
Okay, you want to get that language?
You all right with that?
Yep.
What Stan said that DOT, how do you keep them camera from sitting from down the Zoom? When they moved that whole sidewalk and.
Where they took the curbing out, the granite curbing? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, $1,000.
As I think I mentioned last month, that I wish I had an answer for you, but I really do not.
I think you could send a letter from council to the district office. Just to advise them of the town's policy. Because now the town's policy is clearly stated in the plan. I'm sorry. Send that letter to the district engineer's office so that it's on record. Nothing we can do about what they did already, but planning has to sign a driveway permit, so that catches all the private development. And if there's a standing notification from the town to the district, that'll get through the construction office and then the development office. That's about all you can do. We talk to them enough each week that pay attention, we save the next one.
Yes, sir?
Page 47, strategy number 9. Delete natural resources, the last word there in that sentence. That a-
47, number 9. Oh, yeah, natural resource.
Typo?
I think that was probably something that was supposed to be on that, that area. I think it might have been mentioned last time. It just didn't get translated over.
And then, of course, I've got a ton of things on the back page there, but it's more just, layout and, anybody. What's,
Yes, ma'am. Some of them.
Yeah. 33?
Increase and decrease.
About the response times? I don't think we did talk about that.
I already went ahead and exited through of it.
You did?
Yes, sir. It needs to be decrease instead of increase.
Right.
I think I meant I knew what I was trying to say, but it didn't come out correctly. It's like, what is it, is consistent or is inconsistent, stuff like that. It always kind of tricks me up, so.
All right, I think that's all I gotta talk about right this second, so I will open it up to whoever wants to go next. Or, Mr. Burnett, would you like to go next?
Not this time.
All right, Mr. Wooten?
Just a couple of things that I had mentioned earlier, just in the ears of all present. Section 7, I'd like for some consideration for the research be made of that section to make it more applicable or appropriate for our particular community. I think I made those
Um,
ideas clear earlier.
yeah, I mean, if you want to kind of bring them back up, I know we talked about them a little bit last month, I guess, I think a lot of what our development has looked like, and I think Mr. Wooten mentioned is a lot of strip development essentially. And how a lot of, I don't really want to speak on behalf of you, but, then essentially you're saying that a lot of this you don't feel is consistent with what the future of Graham is going to look like, essentially. Is that correct?
Well, basically, it sounds more like boilerplate
Hmm.
information than it does specific to our particular situation. It looks like whoever put this together, the company that put this together, took something out of their template and stuck it in there without a lot of thought as to its applicability to our community. That was my impression. Other people may have a different impression, so that's my
And,
thought about that.
just so, because there are a couple different sections of like section 7, right? So, I mean, let's start, I guess, from,
64?
yeah.
Yeah, page
So-
64.
You have, I guess, you're asking, I guess, for more research into the specificity of Graham for like the strip development versus commercial, unconnected roads versus road network, cul-de-sacs, things along those lines, separation of uses.
7.3,
mixed
same
uses.
thing,
Open space development, do you have the same feeling about that as well?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll open it up to have you all discuss with it. I don't really have much to say, so.
Well, I mentioned to Cameron earlier, I don't mean to open a can of worms that we can't get the lid back on the can, but just, that was my impression as reading through this. It didn't seem like a whole lot of effort went into making it specific to our community, and just wondered what the research, what the genesis was, what the development was of this particular section. So, I mean, if there was a whole lot of thought and effort put into that, I would like to know what that was.
Who they modeled it after.
Like I said, this may have even been something from the previous land use plan as well, that was potentially brought over. I really don't know if we spent too much time talking about this in the steering committee meetings.
I'm inclined to say that this is a boilerplate piece. We've tried multiple times to have divided lines, divided avenue type. I'm referring to page 64, the illustration on the right. We've tried multiple times to bring planted median islands into
Yeah.
public rights of way, and they're met with immediate obstinance. So this is just, it came out of something and got in this document. So we ought to look through this section a little more carefully, all of us, and then look at it when we come back next month. Because there's a whole lot of meat in section 7.
Agree with that.
I mean, do you all feel comfortable, I guess, looking at this and I guess coming up with other ideas associated with it?
A lot of meat in there needs to be.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
And I want- It's like, don't want what's on the left when rather than what's on the right.
It says the recommendations that the Graham Comprehensive Plans incorporates the principles of commercial centers as a viable alternative to the current strip development. Time after time, the steering committee and the public displayed their dislike for strip development.
I don't see where we could put the medians in the road anywhere. I mean, we don't have much land left to develop other than 54, and they're all state right of ways.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it's something, you talk about there being a lot of things, but if it could even be as just as simple as changing that recommendation at the bottom, right? I mean, it talks about what the two differences are instead of saying that the comprehensive land use plan, you want it to incorporate more of the strip development than you do the commercial corridor area aspect. I mean, if that's how you all feel that the strip aspect is more suited towards our future, then that could be the recommendation that's associated with it.
That's not especially what I'm saying at this point, but look at the last sentence on the bottom of 64. It says, time after time, the steering committee and the public displayed their dislike for strip development. Where did that statement come from? We've got, what, how many, 4 members of the steering committee?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that statement come from?
Like you said, probably just a template they had on it, or it came from one of the previous documents we've had.
Did you guys get that kind of feedback? So I'm looking, is this really a legitimate statement, or just something pulled out of thin air? It's that kind of thing that you look up, just up the page under strip development, poor design characteristics. You know, what are those characteristics? What are we talking about here? Statements like that don't give me a lot of confidence into the validity of what's presented here.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
I'm not saying strip versus commercial at this point. You know, you could make good arguments for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the other sections.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think it'd be safe to say that section 7 does need a lot of work. And I think it would give each one of us a good opportunity to reflect on it more and come up with some good ideas and discuss for next month. Is that, do I have to hear a consensus?
Mhm.
All right.
That's what I would suggest, yeah.
So we'll pull 7 out, section 7 out, and we'll talk about that next month. And we'll move on to,
The only other comment that I had was just to get somebody to go through the document, very thoroughly proofread it, check for, you know, obvious grammatical errors or misspellings, that sort of thing. Just give it a good proofreading. See how it could be cleaned up and that sort of thing. That's,
you got AI software?
no. It's
Anybody-
all up here,
Yes, ma'am.
what little's left.
Mm-hmm. No, ma'am. I don't think so. Not that I'm fully aware of, no, ma'am. I think it's pretty much that same 3 to 6 dwelling units per acre. And like I said, I mean, I was trying to, you know, put a little bit more focus on some of these areas as well as the strategies of, I mean, you know, I know it's been discussed a lot of times of, you know, feeling that they're putting too much on too little. This is the document that goes against that. I mean, if you think 3 to 6 dwelling units on a per acre is too much, then here's the space to put it. So. But there was no intention to change it, I guess. And that might change when it goes further, but it's completely up to y'all.
Chad and we'll talk, I've always talked about responsible development. And you're responsible, I'm responsible, there are people. Let's just be honest, and, it bothers me to think that the developer would try to, if I had a home, even if it was a rental property, and and that somebody would try to build beside that rental home, a 3-story building. And there's not a privacy fence in the world that would protect that residential person. And I think we need to think about that when you have residential abutting commercial or, maybe putting some sort of buffer that something that's multi-story can't be right beside something that's residential. So maybe there's an office institutional zone or something that needs to be in between it or whatever, but, it's quite concerning to think that people will feel, will even suggest to build something 2 and 3 story right beside somebody that's residential. I think that's very unfair to that person.
And I agree with some of that if it's commercial related, but so you own a lot or a house that's a single story and I buy the lot next to you and I want to build a 4-story house on it. How are you gonna, different from that than being commercial? There's no privacy still there.
Yeah. Saying, I guess I'm just thinking from the perspective of, I'm gonna give you the Ray Moore lot down here. Dr. Crispin, fine person, but not in building, he's in building a multi-story. But because he could build to the lot line, I mean, literally like that guy's residential door in his house, there's like a brick wall that goes all the way down his side, and he's looking at the back of the building. It just aesthetically, I feel like that definitely devalued his property, no doubt. I mean, but no doubt in my mind, I'm owning a lot of property over the years. And I just feel like somebody that's lived here 30-some years, I mean, he really got, in my opinion, not a good shape. And nothing against Mr. Christmas for building his properties. Everything's done within the, within the rules and regulations, but if we're thinking about these sort of things, either hard mistakes like that, I think, and try to figure out a better situation that if you are gonna put residential, then you can't build to the lot line. If you're gonna be commercial or something, I don't know.
I think that's what our development ordinance currently states at the
Yeah.
moment. I mean, I think a lot of what you're saying is not future land use plan oriented, but more or less the major, what is listed inside the development ordinance of, what is appropriate in this specific area, buffer types that are between different types of uses. I mean, I don't know exactly where you're referencing right now, but if it was a commercial next to a residential zoned area, there should have been some form of a setback. Unless it was, I mean, even if it's zone B1, I think there's still a little bit of a setback. I could be wrong though, but I mean, for your typical B2, you're always pretty much gonna have a setback from residential areas. And if it's something newly being developed on the commercial property, there's gonna be buffers, other things of the like that are gonna be required by staff. Unless the existing building's there, then there's a good chance that they're not gonna have to replant anything unless it increases intensity by a number of classification, but, that's just my thoughts.
I agree with you in the commercial aspect of it, but let's talk about the project there on Hampton Road, that backs up to, the subdivision off of, Lacey Holt.
Yes,
Not
sir.
Lacey Holt, Monroe Holt.
Mhm.
And, that's not a commercial project, townhouses, or they was building 2-unit townhouses, but originally I think they wanted to do 3-story when they come before us, and then ultimately I think, some density was cut out and they was allowed to do some 2-story. But the topography of the land there was, so much higher to begin with. So anything they built would be towering down on the neighborhood.
Yeah, it was
So-
always 2-story.
It was always 2. So how do we get around that, aspect of it? It require all that to be conditional zoning? Would that be a good solution to that? I don't want to discourage it.
No, I think it's still something that you list inside the development ordinance and you call out at adjacent grade, building height at adjacent grade. There's not really much of any reference to that inside of our development ordinance, except for in industrial zones. So, you're talking about, okay, you only have 35 feet of building height at, adjacent grade. Guess what? You can only build up to 10 feet tall. And it might not work that way. Like, I think that's really the only way. It's a simple solution to put inside of there. But, of course, through that conditional aspect, you come in here and be like, this is not what I want. I want to be able to build what I want. Or they come in with a text amendment and request something else. But I think it's easily, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I definitely would enjoy your opinion on it, but that is the only way that I can foresee anything like that being dealt with in that fashion, is having something like that.
Well, or, I mean, I'm thinking outside the box, maybe, it wouldn't affect a single family dwelling that was gonna go beside that property, but if it was something that was gonna be a multifamily, then we could, maybe address that in zoning.
Yeah, I think, when you're looking at conditional, zonings, there's two different types of classifications, right? There's your single family, which is under the conditional residential, which has to meet the R9 standards. And then your multifamily, i.e. townhomes, big developments like that, apartments that have to meet the RMF standards. And then those RMF standards, there have to be something in the setback table essentially that says at adjacent grade height, essentially, just for those in particular. Or, I mean, even, you have them listed out at townhomes, but I think that would have to be something that would have to take a really deep look at, on the development ordinance side. I don't know if it's anything that you can put in this document that really makes, too much of an impact outside of, unless there's a specific policy that you could write out inside of there that says discourage, discrepancy in height from topography of land uses around. So you see they bring in something, but that's the hard part as well, because whenever they bring a plan in front of you all, half the time you don't know what the elevation is for their property and the other property. And that's difficult of as well. It's like they could easily be like, okay, yeah, looks good here. We got 20 building height, but you don't see that the next house below them is, 30 feet below their grade. And essentially you got a retaining wall and they're looking down on them. You can't see that on that view. So it really just boils down to getting something in writing, because it's very tough to address it without seeing anything up here.
Refresh my memory, but not the adjacent grades or the, difference in topology, but didn't we have this discussion a few years ago when Jason Cox wanted to build some like 3 or 4 story?
April and Oneida.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think those are, I mean, well, not about the grading, right?
Right.
I think it was probably brought up as something that's like, you don't want, probably the neighbor came and said, I don't want to be looking out my house, looking into a 3-story apartment building. And that's probably what came up. I can't, I don't think I was with y'all at that time. So I'm not 100% sure what that conversation held.
Remember, what I'm
Oh, I
talking about.
remember, it's the building there.
I know which one you're talking.
Market. not-
Yes, sir.
Market. and-
Maple and Market.
and-
But like I said, I think it's that, it even is something, I mean, we have something for building height, maximum building height. And you change, okay, maximum building height is 30 feet. But maximum building height adjacent to, for multifamily adjacent to single family is, or you increase the setback for building heights over X amount adjacent to single family, but you're getting into some wicked worlds over there, but not too sure.
Engineer.
So to get us moving off of this point, I took the citizens' input and just a note to myself to find some section to add in responsible development with respect to buffering and elevation changes between intensities. But that takes the focus from the land use plan and takes the developer's mind to, okay, I need to go look in the ordinance and see what the ordinance now says about buildings that are 3 stories or bigger and how much further they need to set back from the property line,
mean,
which
even-
would be in the UDO.
Something as simple, I guess, is how you worded it, could be added in as a goal or policy associated with one of these sections here of, if you don't like what is being shown over there, you could claim that you're not doing responsible development for adjacent land use classifications, or however it was written. So,
Call it a goal.
or one of the policies inside of here, wherever they may be located at, somewhere, I mean, I think it's in section 6, 5, all through section 5 and 4. has different types of goals, to
Okay.
guide us into the future. Improve community, I mean, probably find it under one of these 4.1.2 strategy, whatever it may be, if you can find a placeholder for it. Or I think you add a completely new goal inside of there for 5.8. It's a new one, and this is for responsible development. And that's essentially where you add in all these criteria of goals that you want to see into the future. I think that's what I was more or less kind of trying to get across last time, is a lot of these things can be filtered in here of goals that we want to see these developments take shape into in the future. And you can easily grab and say, you're not meeting this strategy, you're not meeting this strategy of the development that we see over here. You're also not meeting this one in section 4. It's not consistent at all. So we're not going to approve it. We're going to recommend denial. So you're essentially tailoring this document not to deny people, but to provide them with information how to build a good product according to all of us.
So, Mr. Wooten, I know we've got off on a tangent there on number 7 and carrying forward. You got your next, got something?
No,
else?
that was all. That was all. Thank you.
Perfect. And Mr. Huffine, back to you again.
I'll try to go real quick. Page 32. 32. Public transit section. Okay, that was from Elizabeth. Page 33. Top sentence, I think that was still from Elizabeth. The city is currently updating the pedestrian plan. That was to check on. Zoning map after page 38. Zoning map is just correct.
Says incorrect.
Just at first glance, the whole eastern side of Graham is still zoned R 9, 12, and 18, basically. So somehow the index or the legend or something is messed up over there.
The eastern side of Graham.
There's a 3.3 zoning map that is landing
No.
after page 38.
I'm looking at it up here with you. I'm trying to figure out exactly where you're talking about.
All right, that map,
Yes, sir.
and the property's current zoning, they don't match. So somewhere we got to update the map. I think it's just the wrong graphic.
Okay.
Look at the whole, like this, just take a,
I don't know how it, I mean, it has some of the most recent conditional rezonings that we've done. I mean,
you got-
areas in particular.
all right, take a line from Highway 85's shield on the graphic, right there.
Uh-huh.
And you draw that straight south, kind of along. Now to the east of that, that's all the same color, and it's not all the same zoning.
Are you sure? I mean, look over to your right as well, because that's the zoning over there too, and it appears to all to be R18 over there.
Road and.
Looking right here. Same. I'm just sensitive to that area for
That's it, right in our area.
I mean, Oldfields is technically zoned R18. Uh-huh.
That little,
A little triangle there.
well, below the triangle with RMF is the intensity of I2, which does show up on the, that show up here.
Are you sure? Is that too?
And my eyes are old.
I beg to differ. I think this is pretty accurate.
All right, let me just proofread it and we'll move to the next one.
We'll take a look at it as well, but from my first glance, I think it's pretty similar to what was on our GIS, which is the data that we gave them.
Okay, well, it's different from what we're publishing to the citizens when we walk in.
Okay.
So I'll proofread it. I don't mind doing that. We'll
Yeah,
move on
I'm
to the
happy to
next.
take a look at it as well, but
But I see three differences here on the floor from these two documents.
We'll talk about it. If you can show me, I'm happy.
Well, we always go to the one online.
Yeah. Are you sure? I'm interested to see. We'll, I'm 100%, I understand. That is R18. Under that hatch is R18 zoned. Okay, we can show the hatch. That's okay.
Because we're showing stippling on the I-1 west of Hall River. Right here.
Yes, that's the Challenge Golf Course.
Down.
Uh-huh.
I just want it to be consistent and as close as it can be to the current GIS public information.
Should
Once
not
we publish it, well, it's just stuck. And the zoning map continues to evolve.
I guess there's just not a PUD on,
Challenge, there's not a PUD on there.
yeah, but it has the CMXR and the legend over there. There's just not a PUD aspect of it, which can easily be added. But I think pretty much a lot of the other aspects on there are relatively accurate. But I'm happy to sit here whenever we finish this to look at it over with you as well. So we don't get hung up on it.
My main concern. Very fragile area.
Okay. Yes, sir. Totally understand.
Page 42. I think we covered the addition of additional language that Dean proposed. But in some part of this section, I cannot find citizen involvement, especially in the ETJ where the citizens are never asked to vote. So we're talking about zonings and uses and things that affect ETJ residents that they're impotent when it comes to actual votes. So how do we encourage citizen involvement in the early stages of planning unless we reference a neighborhood informational meeting situation? I
And
hate to
again-
add another step, but somewhere we got to add it to the,
That would be something that would go inside the development ordinance, I'd imagine. I mean, you can essentially say that, applicants are encouraged to hold neighborhood meetings, but in nowhere in our development ordinance does it currently state that they're required to, which is where it would need to be placed.
so let's add in section 3.7 in the toolbox for the developer's conditional use that one of the tools is consider a joiner and citizen involvement.
You mean, would you want them
And
to?
then just stop there because they can take it or leave it. But at least we've said, please consider it. If we're going to go down the road of consideration and respectful neighbors and development, with
Mhm.
respectful development, we ought to at least somewhere state that
So you,
like myself should ask the neighbors, what do they want before we go in there?
so you said consider what again? Neighbor,
A joiner or citizen input. And let the reader of the document take it for what it's worth. Because then as the council, the council can certainly ask, well, did you talk to the neighbors before they start talking to us?
Many occasions we've come in here and they've never talked to anybody in the neighborhood.
I understand, because it's not currently required by our development ordinance.
I think that's something that ought to be mandatory.
Yeah.
It eliminates a lot of questions up front, takes the scare out of it for your neighbors sometimes. It don't always solve everything, but it puts it out there on the table for the neighbors either to rally or come support you.
It has been recommended by staff over there for people to have them. I tell them it's not required, but it helps your case out. And I mean, not really helps it, but it may help it, I guess. I mean,
Certainly fleshes out the.
it does with,
Fine.
you don't have 17 people up here and now you have 5 that actually have the big concerns
Yeah.
that are brought up. And I think that's what happened with, the Jim Minor development. I think they had
Riley's
it.
method.
They apparently advertised it, but nobody came except for maybe those 2 ladies that showed up, and I don't even know if they did or not. But I guess that's what you see sometimes, is nobody responds, but then they at least know that something's happening. So I think that's fine.
Page 44, reduce the proliferation of commercial strip development. We don't give them a definition of commercial strip development. It's a concept.
I think a lot of it is inside of that section 7, right?
Which they have not read for 2 or 3 more sections. So we're kind of prohibiting a development strategy that we haven't defined for them yet. So I want to, I'll edit that, but I want to rearrange that or in some way define what the planning
I mean, could it
arm
be,
of the, of the long range view thinks is a strip center, and that goes into the boilerplate piece of section 7.
yeah, I don't know, if it's, something, I mean, because I guess it seems that there's a stigma that we have existing, commercial strip development here, right? And I don't know if you take section 7 and you completely wash this 4.1.2, and completely change it, right? I mean, because that might be ends up what happening. Is because if you don't want commercial strip development, or you want commercial strip development, then why are you recommending against it in the previous chapter? So I got you. I don't know if that is something that we'll discuss. I guess next time you'll take a deeper look at it and hone in on that.
Page 45, section 4.2.1, strategy 5. And I missed this meeting, so y'all have to help me extend the business district to Maple Street and Marshall Street. That was stricken from the, so what happened on Marshall Street and Maple Street? Was there citizen input that said we don't want to encourage development in that direction?
Yeah, I think
That
it was,
reflects their desires.
as an aspect of keeping the downtown area where it was and
In downtown.
keeping that buffer right through there. I think there was
So
maybe,
direct citizen input.
No, that was the board.
That's the board's direct input.
well, I think it was also discussed during our pedestrian plan aspect, and was also probably discussed during our steering committee meetings as well, that you want to keep that center a center. So I think that's also what was understood by the members of the board here. So it was talked about previously.
Excellent. Page 51, boundaries. Second section under 5.3, boundaries. The boundaries of the district are, well, these boundaries have never been fully defined in the eyes of most of the citizens in that area. They've been conceptualized over the past 15 years, which has changed depending on the tide. So we need to somehow define what this actually is in a legal form.
Like the
That's my
actual,
opinion.
the boundaries of the city of Graham.
When we
Mhm.
technically speak in terms of boundaries, that is the most specific thing there is. To Mr. Wooten's point, well, to the ETJ citizens that are not sitting here tonight, those boundaries are as loose as the day that the land is purchased and the idea of changing that land occurs. There is no long-range plan. That's all been thrown out the window over the past 10 years.
So
So
are you
we
saying you should have like separate boundaries, like
need
boundaries?
to define what a boundary is.
Not necessarily our boundary is the city limits, or that's what you want to see is like our boundary is the end of this city limits line and we're not including the ETJ line.
And if that is a stated boundary in the boundary section of section 5.3, then everyone from the assistant planner to the mayor ought to be able to stand behind it and say, this is what we decided and here are the dates it was decided, so that that item is settled.
Okay.
And none of the neighbors for Mr. Benesh and I are here to tell you the same thing, but that is a definite necessity. And it specifically addresses an area where no one's able to respond,
Mhm.
including the landowners that need to be able to sell their land. So the input from those property owners need to be here to have input, public input into the creation of, if nothing else, of those 3 lines of text.
Okay.
Page 52, 5.4. I think we should elaborate the section of background to include a little more history. We have a 3 governors, we have an Alamance Community College, we have so much history in that area that it would be important to document that in a document that continues past the service of any of the board members or council members that are here now when our kids come in.
Okay.
Because so much of that is lost and has been lost just during our time. Section 53, existing and emerging conditions. I think additional work is needed to notify ETJ citizens in all directions, especially to the south and east of Graham, where there is growth in the county direction, that this document's even being formulated. So when we talk about emerging conditions, some citizens half a mile out of Graham may not know there's a condition to even be talking about. And then the next day, there's a sign in the yard. So we fight a battle of public response to the town's notification. Hey, this is going on, pay attention. There's only so much the town can do to advertise or to
Mhm.
encourage. I have not received a mailer from the town ever at my personal address that the long-range plan, the land use plan, the sidewalk plan, the historical commission even exists.
Okay.
Yet, as an ETJ resident, I am somehow bound to those. So there's a better job we can do, and somewhere in this plan, we need to make folks aware of emerging conditions, however that's defined.
How would you suggest? Because
No, but I'm gonna come up with something
But,
to the board next month.
Because I mean, you're looking at me and I'm like, my hands are kind of how they were. I mean, I think, when it came to a lot of this plan,
If I had a mirror, I would look at me and you. It is our responsibility, and
I, I'm not.
just looking at you because you and I speak the same language.
I'm not, like I said,
I'll look at Dean. It'll take the heat off.
You know, it's just like, everybody, the city likes to utilize the water bills and the website.
mhm.
Well, Chad's on, probably on a well, so he
Yeah.
probably don't get a water bill, so it wouldn't be on his water bill. And if he wasn't looking at the city's website, I agree with the notification that we lack, I don't say we lack the ability, we lack in notifying our ETJ people of what's going on in the city. We
Okay.
need to figure out a way to better, handle that. And I know you're gonna say, well, it costs money and that you gotta stuff mailers and it costs a lot of money and well, we have to get the council to fund a little more or do something different, but we do need to address the ETJ.
Okay.
It's easy for the people to get water bills and that are here, but if you live in apartments on Woody Drive and the complex pays for your water and it's figured in your rent,
hmm
you would never see it either.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that solution may be, but we need to figure some kind of
Yeah.
appropriate
I-
decision.
I don't have much to say. I mean, I can only sit here and agree with you. I wish that more could have been done, in more ways than one. I mean, I could have done better, potentially of getting a lot of this stuff advertised. We did exactly what we were doing and, here's where we are currently. So I cannot provide you with any more information outside of agreement.
We're not saying that you didn't do a good job.
Oh, that's-
By no means. We're saying that,
I'm part
Um,
of it. So I take responsibility as a professional and an adult that, we are understanding enough to have these conversations
Yeah.
of these things. And I'm also trying to do my best by not only you all as members of the city and of the ETJ, but your people surrounding you, right? So, I mean, I have to hear phone calls from all parties and want to make sure that that stuff taken into consideration. A lot of what this is, was, I guess this future land use plan was driven from was from something that was brought up 2, 3 years ago from Mr. Huffine. So, I totally understand. That's all I can say. I'm not gonna harp on it too much.
All right. thank you.
But that was gonna be my point, so.
Yeah.
In fact, residents in that area don't get any kind of notification for the most part
hmm
until something happens, like Mr. Huffine said, it's a sign in the yard. Water that is provided down there comes out of Orange County, known as Orange, which is not Graham water anyway.
Yeah.
So very, very little is known in that area until after something's already progressing to happen.
Yes, sir.
The group here
Yeah, it expands.
is
Yeah, I just, I'm trying to also envision, I guess, how we write this inside of here. And of course, it's gonna take some time to figure some of that stuff out. So, I mean, I think we can all come with a combined understanding. I mean, it's not just the people of the ETJ. I mean, how do you members of the city think ETJ members should be treated as well as yourself when you're dealing with some of these areas and aspects? So, but it's difficult to put in a future land use plan, I guess. It's like it should have been happening before this, so they had input.
That's right.
Hard to have input after everything's kind of complete, so. But, I mean, there's always ways to, after this stuff's approved, I mean, it meant just talking about having recurring steering committee meetings to make changes to these areas. That doesn't mean that we can't re-advertise and take another look at some of this stuff in the future. This, it's not bound by approval and is not available to change. That's for sure. So we make changes and it can be changed in the future too.
Off the record, we could put signs on the side of UPS and Prime trucks.
There you go. That's,
Um,
and transfer trucks.
It'd work perfectly out there, wouldn't it? It'd work perfect.
I'd take up too much of y'all's time on that, but happy to continue along, Mr. Huffine. Sorry.
My apologies for raised eyebrows and heated vision. It's not directed at you. It's just
Sometimes-
the direction I'm looking at. I should be looking at all of
It's because I'm so, just easy to
So-
look at, right? I'm very embracing.
Page 60, central part of that page, appropriate density. How did we arrive at 6 dwellings and 0.5 commercial?
Yeah, I think a lot of this is pulled from previous plans. All of this, I think essentially is kind of falling back on what was listed out. There didn't seem to be an understanding during steering committee meetings that there was a lot of emphasis on change. So it was pretty much kind of left the same.
The future land use map, which is the reason we're here. Page 62, the map that follows exhibit 6.4, the title is future land use. And I'm not going to belabor the point. I'll just tell you that the same amount of notification in arriving at the future land use map designations on this drawing is the same amount of input that the citizens had in the text of this document. And then section 7, we're going to check the whole thing.
I understand.
I'm done, Chairman.
Right, now go back down to board again and see if there was any rebuttal or anybody wants to add anything. Mr. Stotts, Mr. Wood,
Personally, I think we should just blame Jennifer and let it go with that.
I'll take the brunt of it.
Wake up, wake up.
Mr. Benesh.
Everything that I had to bring up, we just covered, so
Well,
I'm good.
all right. Well, if we had no further comments tonight about this, Cameron, you got anything you'd like to address?
No, I think, we'll just again, welcome Elizabeth to, the planning board. This is a very fun time, meeting with you all. We will likely have some more items coming in next month. I would suggest we will likely have a rezoning, and a text amendment that is coming through. I don't know if it would be beneficial timing wise for us to go ahead and handle the public stuff first and address this at the end after that. That is completely up to y'all and you as the chair as well. But just wanted to bring that up that we will have some additional items. And if you do feel, I will not rearrange it by any means, but if that's something you feel whenever we start the meeting, we could certainly do that. But the text amendment is something that was brought up at this month's council meeting for accessory dwelling units. We had a property owner who wanted to build one. We currently do not permit them. And it was either subdivide or come in front of city council for a text amendment. And he went in front of city council and they tasked Aaron, who tasked me to take a look into it. The General Assembly is currently looking at language and has draft language that is being reviewed for potentially requiring all municipalities to put this into their development ordinance. So if anything, you may get a little bit of a head for a time being. They may require you to change it after the fact. Whenever they approve it, they may not. So.
All right,
Chair, if I might add a comment.
Sure.
I would like to commend the board as a whole for the diligent work, the expertise that we've seen tonight, and the commitment, the care, the commitment to making this as best as possible. I'd definitely like to commend everyone here.
Thank you.
And appreciate everything that's been said. Especially the atmosphere of unity and working together.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. So noted. Any non-agenda items that any of the board members want to talk about?
Chairman Cameron, we talked about a board of adjustment. Is it resolved yet or?
It is almost resolved. They are working it out with the property owners, and that's about as much as I can tell you about neighboring property owners. And that's about as much as I can get into. We keep on, hey, are you wanting to come back and forth? We've kept them in good company of, just asking the question of if it's gonna happen. But I can't let you all know when we're gonna meet until I actually have an understanding. So I'm hoping that we're not. And of course, I'll probably have to, I think we took a look at all of like the updates for alternates, things along those lines, so it's not a problem. So we have an understanding of who's doing what. But hopefully we won't have to do it. So, but we'll see. I'm still waiting on that final confirmation.
Now is Elizabeth on our Board of Adjustments?
Yes, sir. So I think she will serve as an alternate currently for taking Mr. Young's position, who was one of the last ones to come on here, who sat as an alternate. So I think it's a 5-person board, I think. So it'd
That's right.
be,
Mr. Bailey, myself,
and I think, yes. So y'all two alternates, and then
one of them.
I think it's both of them actually.
Oh.
Yeah, because that was the problem we had where we had to change it, was because we could never have a full board because it stated that an alternate had to be a city member or something, or it could not be, an ETJ member could not be replaced by a city member or something along those lines. So now if Chad's not here, Mr. Benesh is not here, Elizabeth could fill in as a alternate for any member. So
And well, thank you for tonight. And if there's no further comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.